parameters like blood pressure, hemoglobin, body temperature, etc., etc. So therefore, he is manipulating. Another one will be the dependent variable. So there should be a dependent variable, the presence of independent variable and the dependent variable. So there must be a dependent variable. Dependent variable is one in which the changes can be brought due to the independent variable. So independent variable is responsible for bringing the change in the dependent variable. And then you know that there are some intervening variable, so you must control. So there is another control of intervening variable. So another thing you should know, the treatment duration that you have to take into consideration, and you must know how long the treatment should be. You know, when doctor gives the medicine, he tells you have to take this medicine for 1 month and every day you have to take before your breakfast. So these are the conditions which he lays down. So these are the different things that you should understand. Then another is the selection of the group. The selection of the group which you take for conducting the experiment. In medical science, the doctors, if they have to conduct some experiment, they know which type of patient they have to take. The botany people, if they have to conduct experiment, then they know which plant they want. So like this. So these are the important aspect that you should understand. Now, when you want to conduct the experiment, then you should understand the principle. The principle of experimental design. Now see, if you have the methods of teaching, and this method of teaching will bring change in understanding of the students. So that means now the change in understanding will be equal to the change due to methods of teaching plus the change due to reasoning of the people plus change due to previous understanding plus change due to concentration, like this. So the change in understanding will be equal to the change due to the methods of teaching, the change due to reasoning, change due to previous understanding, the change due to concentration, etc., etc. Now, I am more interested in finding the change in the understanding due to the change due to the methods of teaching, then change due to reasoning, the change due to previous understanding or knowledge, and change due to concentration. Now, all these will lead to error. So, change due to the reasoning plus previous understanding or previous knowledge, if you want, plus the concentration. Now, as a researcher, I'm more interested in the change in understanding due to the methods of teaching. I'm not interested in the change due to reasoning, previous understanding, and concentration, etc. That means these will be the error. So that means I can say that change in understanding is equal to change due to methods of teaching and change due to error. Now, or I can say the change in the change in dependent variable will be equal to change due to treatment plus change due to error. Now, as a researcher, what do you want? You want to maximize. You can also say the change in the dependent variable is equal to the treatment variance plus the error variance. So that means you can say that the principle of experimental design is maximization of the treatment variance and minimization of error variance. So maximization of treatment variance and minimization of error variance is the principle of experimental design. Is the principle of experimental design. Because you want to minimize the error variance, that is why you have to control the intervening variable. And that is why there are many methods of controlling the intervening variable. Now, the experimental designs have been classified into the three categories. Now I go to the classification of experimental design. let me take it on the next page. Let me insert the table here. Now, this is called pre-experimental design. Another is called the quasi-experimental design. And another is called true experimental design. Now, I'm going to tell you that how to differentiate among these three types of these three types of experimental design. So here I am telling you the base or criteria. One is the selection of subjects. Because whenever you want to do research, you have to select the subjects. Because without selecting the subjects, you will not be able to do research. So when you are selecting the subjects, then you should know how to select it. Now, in case of pre-experimental design, you have to take the group as available in the field. And technically it is called intact group. So in the pre-experimental design, you absolutely have no choice in selecting the group, because you have only one group and you have to give the treatment. So you have to give the treatment to the same. As the doctor, when gives the treatment to the patient, he can't give treatment to the father or to the mother or to someone else. He has to give to the patient. Now, in the quasi-experimental also, it is the intact group that you have to take as available in the field. Now, in true experimental design, the subjects are randomly selected. So this is one. Another is assignment of treatment. Here, you have got only one group and you have only one treatment. So there is no choice of selecting the group to whom you have to give the treatment. So there is no choice. There is no choice of assignment of treatment. Now, in the quasi-experimental design, treatment is randomly assigned. Why? Because you will have minimum 2 groups. And if you have minimum 2 groups, then well, you can assign the treatment to any group you like, and you can keep the other group as control group. And in true experimental design also, the treatment is randomly assigned. Then another is the control. The moment I say control means controlling the intervening variables. Now, in the pre-experimental design, it is too poor control. That means intervening variables are not controlled because you only have one group. Here, it is better controlled. And here it is the best control. Then another is you know that there is called internal validity. What is internal validity? Internal validity internal validity refers to the change in the dependent variable due to independent variable. The confidence with which the researcher can say that the change in the dependent variable is due to the independent variable, then it refers to the internal validity of that particular experimental design. So you can say the confidence with which the researcher says that the change in dependent variable is due to the independent variable refers to the internal validity. My dear friend, you know that when the doctor gives the medicine and if the fever comes down, then he knows that the fever has come down because of this medicine. Many times you might have observed that when doctor gives the medicine, the fever does not come down. So that means the change in the fever is not happening due to the treatment. That means the treatment given by the doctor is not all right. And that is why the doctor changes the medicine. So therefore, doctor decides on the basis of the internal validity of his treatment, whether the treatment is all right or treatment is not all right. So in the pre-experimental design, the internal validity is too weak. Here it is. Internal validity is moderate. And internal validity is high. Now then another is external validity. External validity refers to the confidence with which the experimenter says that the finding can be used for generalization. So external validity refers to the confidence with which the researcher says that the finding of the experiment can be used for generalization. So the external validity is too weak. The external validity is moderate. And the external validity is high. Now, these are some of the points which you can use in order to differentiate among the pre-experimental design, the quasi-experimental design, the true experimental design. My dear friends, you read as many books as you like on experimental design, but no author has given such a comparison which I am now telling you. So this is my original contribution in differentiating amongst the three types of experimental designs. Now, if you are interested in reading the original paper written by Campbell and Stanley, Campbell and Stanley, Campbell and Stanley, they wrote a paper, and the title of the paper was True and Quasi-Experimental Design. It is available online also. If you go to Google and you type the True and Quasi-Experimental Design by Campbell and Stanley, the complete article comes in front of you, and you may start understanding. Now, I give you some examples of the pre-experimental design. One is called single shot case study. That means there is only one group and you are giving the treatment to that. Another one is called pre-test, post-test, single group design. And this pre-test, post-test, single group design can be used only for conducting pre-test, post-test, single group experimental design is used for conducting action research. I don't know how many of you know action research, and the government, each government wants that each teacher should conduct action research without giving them the training. And this action research can be conducted by the principal, it can be conducted by the teacher, it can be conducted by the school inspector, it can be conducted by any person who is in the process, with a part and parcel of the process and wants to improve the process. So that is the experimental. And this pre-test, post-test, single group design should not be used. I repeat, pre-test, post-test, single group design should not be used for conducting the research for the PhD degree. If you do it, my dear friend, the person who understands experimental design will immediately reject your thesis. So please do not use it if you think of conducting an experimental study. Now then, there are quasi-experimental design which you can use. One is called the time series design. Another is called non-equivalent control group design. And there are many other designs. In social sciences, the most appropriate design is a non-equivalent control group design. Now, in true experimental design, you have pre-test, post-test, control group design. Another can be post-test only control group design. Okay, so like that, there are many other designs. I'm not going to give you all designs here. Now, I just want to tell you the non-equivalent control group design. What you have to do is something like this. Non-equivalent control group design, non-equivalent control group design. Now, in this design, you should have minimum 2 groups, and both the groups are separated. So I am telling you the layout, that both the groups are separated by dotted line. And dotted line means that the 2 groups are not equivalent. The meaning is there are some differences between the 2 groups. So what you do is you have a pre-test in both the groups, and then in one of the group you give the treatment, and you can decide how long the treatment will continue, and at the end of the treatment the same tool is to be administered again, that is the post-test. And the next group where you are not giving any treatment, means this will be your control group. Now this is the layout where you have pre-test in both the groups. In one of the group you will give the treatment, and that you can select randomly. And when the treatment continues, you have to decide the treatment duration, whether the treatment should be of 1 month, of 3 months, of 1 year, whatever it is. So you give the treatment to one of the groups, and another group will be your control group. And after the treatment is over, you again administer the same tool which you administer before the treatment. And in the control group also you have to administer it. In the experimental group, if your treatment continues for 2 months, in the control group also you have to teach the same topic for 2 months. in a normal way, whatever you have been doing it. So here you should have minimum one experimental group and you have to have a control group. If you want to have two experimental group, that also you can do. That you can have one experimental group here and you can have another experimental group here. And then you can have another control group. And in the control group, you are administering the pre and the post. So you can have in the non-equivalent control group design, you may have two experimental group, you may have three experimental group, it doesn't matter. It is to be decided by the experimenter, but there must be one control group. So this is important. And this particular design is very, very useful in social science research. And in pure science, you should have either the pre-test, post-test control group design, or you can have post-test only control group design depending upon your situation. And in both the cases, you may have two experimental group, you may have three experimental group, but you should have one control group. So dear friends, these are just in nutshell. I talked about the design, and you should also understand that there is something factors affecting internal validity and the factors affecting external validity. So you should understand that also, that factors affecting internal validity and factors affecting external validity. So these two concepts you should understand. And these two concepts will take you to a point that it is very, very difficult to have an experiment where you are able to control all the variables so that you improve the internal validity. The internal validity of any experiment you can improve by controlling the intervening variable. And I've already told you that it is not possible to control all intervening variables. Therefore, it is not possible to have an experimental design where internal validity is very high and external validity is also very high, because of the situation. You know, I'll give one example, that when the doctor is giving the medicine to the patient, the family members might go to temple to pray for his health. Now, doctor is giving the medicine and the family members are going from one temple to another temple to pray for a good health. The patient gets well. Now, doctor will say that the patient got well because of the medicine. But the parents may think that the patient got well because of the medicine, also because they prayed. So it's very difficult really to say whether the net result is because of the treatment or something else. I'll give another example. I'm in the webinar. Another is that many a times, suppose you have a fever, the doctor gives the medicine. At home also, your grandmother may give you some medicine, which is, not a allopathy, it's a homeopathy. So you are taking allopathy plus homeopathy. And suppose you get well. So can you say that you got well because you took the allopathy, or you got well because you took the homeopathy? It's very difficult. So therefore, there are situations where you will not be able to say that this change is because of the treatment only, because we cannot control all intervening variables. So this is another point which I thought I should bring it to your notice. And I'm sorry that I'm not able to get time to cover the experimental design in detail. So, because I thought I should not go too fast. And if I go too fast, you may not understand. But with this understanding of the experimental design, if you read the book or if you read this article, which is available online, so I think that will be all right. So this is that Campbell and Stanley article, and the name of that article is True and Quasi-Experimental Design. So go to Google and type True and Quasi-Experimental Design, then it will give you the many, and under that there will be Campbell and Stanley. So with this, I'm coming to the close of this particular series of the webinar, and thank you very much for taking the advantage of this particular program. I'm sure you might have been benefited a little bit, if not too much, a little bit at least, because there is always a difference between online and offline. Offline is much better, but anyway, online is also not too good, but it's not too bad also. So thank you very much, and keep learning and keep improving your understanding and the quality of the research that you conduct or you intend to conduct. So thank you, and thank you very much. See you sometime.